a couple years ago, Bill de Blasio signed a bill into law, I believe, yeah, in 2022, that non-citizens could vote in municipal elections. In other words, vote for New York City's mayor, the biggest, largest, probably most powerful city in the country, if not the world. People that weren't even citizens could vote, which would have allowed 800 or so people to be eligible to vote. The ruling has finally come down almost 3 years later. The Court of Appeals in the New York State, the top court there, voted 6-1 to say, no, you can't have non-citizens vote. That's it's right there in the Constitution. But kind of same problem exists. This took 3 years for the courts to sort out. So I guess, Savannah, one, what the heck was the New York City thinking? Like, what kind of a law is this? And two, like, going back to this systematic problem of this taking so freaking long, how do we expedite things that are clearly unconstitutional?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that this even went to court is ridiculous. What other country on earth is arguing as to whether or not illegal immigrants are allowed to vote in, their elections? Granted, with the modern day that we're living in, it's actually probably a lot, sadly. But it just goes to show how far away we strayed from normalcy, from, again, the foundations of this country, right? This is pretty cut and dry stuff. And I think the way that we expedite these processes, the way that we fix things and clean things up is, quite frankly, to take the Nayib Bukele approach, gather everybody in the country up who works federally and just go, you know what, you're all under investigation. For criminal acts. So if you are innocent, incredible. If you're not, bye. I know that's extreme, but also it worked very well for El Salvador. Obviously, a much smaller country than ours, but I feel like that's the level we're at. I mean, we've argued whether or not illegal immigrants can vote in our elections. Are we living in crazy town? And the fact that we have men walking around saying that they're women, and if you don't agree, you get punched in the face, probably means that we are living in crazy town.
If I'm a non-citizen and I identify as they, them, do I get to vote multiple times because of the
Yeah, just
plural of my?
identify as a US citizen, Joe Bob.
I identify as a U.S. citizen, and I also identify as multiple people as a they. So I think I get to vote. I get to vote multiple times. Harrison. So a similar type of this sort of situation has been going on in various parts of the country. I believe in Washington. Don't quote me on that state. Where not only non-citizens can vote, but children effectively in some local municipalities, I think as young as like 13 years old, like, yeah, 13 years old. In terms of like being able to secure elections, obviously this New York thing is kind of a localized thing, but overall throughout the country, how do we kind of reinstate the value of the vote? One, obviously you have to be eligible to vote, but two, that you can't just let these, small local municipalities make up their own rules that are completely opposite of the Constitution.
Yeah, I think since 2016, I believe San Francisco's allowed non-citizens,
Mm.
or I'm sorry, non-citizen parents. I was looking this up as you were talking about because it really is kind of insane. Non-citizen parents of kids can vote in school boards elections. Okay, so it's like this is basically the game plan of everything on the left. It's like they tell you you're crazy because you believe in this standard of like, hey, this causes a slippery slope, right? And then they just like, wow, you're just like a psychopath. Like, what slippery slope? What do you think is going to happen? Like, we're going to let illegals vote for the president soon? Like, and that's like it literally what they're trying to do. By any measure, there's no good reason they let a full-blown invasion over the past 4 years, other than they fully believed that they were going to have to bring the Republicans to the table to make these people eligible voters at the very least.
You know what
It's
I think is interesting? Sorry, will you finish?
Oh no, go ahead.
Well, what I think is interesting about that whole slippery slope thing, living in California, when it was put to a vote in 2008 on whether or not gay marriage would be recognized in the state, a bunch of people were like, this is a slippery slope. Sooner or later, you're going to have, pedophilia be normalized in the state level and people doing terrible things to each other and to children. That's going to be normalized. Turns out, a couple decades later, decade and a half later, all of the things that people were warning about with slippery slope turned out to be pretty accurate. So, yeah, I think that is a strategy that the libs use quite a bit that we should be very, very wary of, especially in things as obvious as non-citizens voting.